everyone, and
Hello.
welcome back to Curiosity. I'm Lauren.
I'm Adam.
And we're so glad you clicked on today's episode. If you're here for Trailer Flowers, Brooke and Jack, they will be right up. Don't you worry. But first, a little catch up with yours truly.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this right as it drops, you will have just had Thanksgiving. So hopefully your Thanksgiving, it went well.
Yeah.
Hopefully you ate a lot of good turkey or
tofurkey.
Tofurkey.
That's what we used to eat up until this year. We finally got to have some meat back in our lives.
Yeah. So as we're recording this, we haven't had it quite yet, but I'm like literally
so ready for it.
Yeah, so I'm
same.
sure by the time you're hearing this, I will have a very full belly of turkey and wine.
We can tell everybody on our Instagram stories how amazing it was.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully you follow us. If you haven't, actually, that's a good time. So follow Curiosity Pod on Instagram and on TikTok. And then also you can follow our personals, which is at Lauren Deliri and
mine's at Adam Frost.
Adam Frost. So it's Adam and Frost.
Sometimes you just got to get a little creative.
Little spicy on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're new here, Adam doesn't generally swear, so him having a username that has a swear in it is just ironic.
It's kind of on brand for me though,
and
that I'm like,
it is on brand. It's very on brand for you.
Yeah, exactly. I like to challenge people's expectations of me all the time.
Yeah, I mean that's a very us thing to do.
Yeah.
Shall we call that a Frost thing at this point?
I suppose we could.
Since it's a me and you thing.
There's a Frost in Curiosity.
There is. Oh my god, that's so cute. That's so cute. Okay, so shall we chat about this conversation that everyone's about to hear?
It was so interesting to hear because honestly, like just hearing their vernacular being so closely tied to their faith and the way that they deconstructed it, just listening to you actually have that conversation and not hearing any hesitancy and not hearing any sort of like trauma response at all, like no trigger response out of you, and just like open flowing conversation. I feel like that's where our people are at. And I feel like it's so good to see you embody that in a conversation. It was really cool.
Oh, that's so sweet. I was nervous about, how potentially this episode will be not just received, but just, that whole experience of me now being on this other side of being able to have conversations with people. So we're kind of just skirting around it, but they do have, like Adam mentioned, the two girls, they are Christian girls. They follow Jesus. That is their thing.
When I saw that their single was called Daughter of a King, I was like, these guys are Christian.
What are we doing here?
There's no question.
But you guys,
they're not assuming royalty in Tennessee.
No. So, but in there, and this is something we discussed in the episode, like in their bio, they said something like, well, do you remember what I had said? It was something about like making good things out of shit.
Yeah.
I think it was something like that.
It was the thing that made you feel safe.
It made me feel safe because I was like, okay, I don't know. I'm not sure if I can chat with them if they're just going to just talk about like their faith. Like, I'm not sure what I can add to that conversation. I'm happy to hear it all day long, but like, what can the conversation entail? Well,
unfortunately, we already know Brooke. And so it's like, at least we had a little bit of an insight into how the conversation could potentially go.
Yeah. So I was a little nervous, like going into it, and now like a little nervous, like dropping the episode. I'm like, how are our listeners going to receive this? But as you mentioned, I think we're in a space now.
Yeah. I think the thing is like, to the listeners, like we trust you and we trust that you trust us.
Yeah.
Like I think we're intentional enough with our space, and I think you're intentional enough with the interviews and where you lead the conversation.
Yeah.
That you're being conscious of people's potential traumas and triggers, and you're navigating that, I think, with some really, really, really good foresight.
Well, I appreciate that. And something you'll hear as well is that for me, like, it's not the first time that we've had a conversation, like even with Ali Gonino in that episode. She talked about how being back in the South, she actually like, found religion again and in like a way that works for her. And I told her, I was like, you know what? I'd rather Jesus in the hands of you than a lot of people. And meaning like people who claim to follow Jesus. Like I'd rather, in the hands of people like Brooke and Jack and like Allie and like, than a lot of other people that I know. And so I'm like, I respect you and I respect your decisions. And also like it was comfortable because they do, like, you'll hear like they do swear and they are like,
yeah, you talked about that recently. That's a thing for you that you help, that helps you, that you utilize to help you break down people's boundaries and walls when you feel like things are getting a little too serious on occasion.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to see that be used to help kind of make you feel better and more comfortable.
In the reverse.
Too.
Yeah, and it does.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a thing about like good guys who swear. I think it's hot. So like, that's
The Golden Bachelor has really proved that for us.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so just to give you kind of a breakdown of what we talk about, clearly, so their name is Trailer Flowers. That is their band name. We talk about how, they came to be during the pandemic, which is another example of how they make good things out of shit.
Yeah.
And then we talk about their serendipitous connection as roommates in Nashville and their journey from like being mutual fans to, forming their duo. We also talk about their unique musical style and vision. Obviously, we do talk about their single, Daughter of a King, but they also have songs about sugar daddies and they have they go into all of that. It's just that Daughter of a King is one part of their musical experience. And so we dive all into that and how, their album that they will be releasing, it's going to be a variety of songs, a variety of styles. And so very excited to hear all of that. So we talked about that and their creative process. We also got into their live performance and how they kind of bring humor into their flair, into who they are as a duo. And in their music, it's kind of ironic, a lot of it. And so anyway, so we get into that. And then we also talk about overcoming childhood abuse and their advocacy for personal growth. So that was a big part of this conversation, which I think you guys will really enjoy. We also had they shared some really heartfelt advice for navigating tough times. And we talked about health of the soul. That was a whole segment. So that's a big part of what these girls are about. They're powerful vocalists and songwriters, but there's a lot of other things that they're passionate about that they hope their music kind of helps them do in the world. So that was really, really cool. And having things that are good for the mind, body, and soul, that's really important to them. So we just got into all of that. And then lastly, out of that conversation, we actually had a whole deep dive into mental health and food as medicine. So that
was such an interesting bridge to see that happen. It was so cool. I feel like you really did navigate so well from the music industry, traumas that can come from that through trauma therapy into the things that they did to physically heal their bodies alongside healing their minds and using food to heal their minds too.
Yep.
It's such a cool bridge that I don't think could be really that could be really constructed by many people outside of the world of the Christian music industry that
I'd come from.
Yeah,
it was very fascinating. I think what I want more and more that this conversation helped me prove to myself that I care about and that I want to do is to have people share their actual opinions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care to have an echo chamber of a podcast. I want to learn things. I want you to learn things. It's called curiosity. I want you to be listening and be curious about people and curious about what they think and not know or assume that we all see eye to eye or think the same things. 'Cause even though food as medicine, there's things that potentially listeners will be well, I don't know. Brooke mentioned she got off of medication that was helping her with her mental health, that she truly believes that food healed. And in some circles that's controversial, not with me, not in my mindset, but I think that was another example of how I want to have conversations about people's actual experiences in their lives and their and their actual opinions. It's why I want to have guests on. It's not to repeat and to stay in line with any sort of set rules or thoughts or opinions. It's to fully express themselves as they are, which these girls are really good at doing.
Yeah.
So I was really happy to have this conversation with them.
Yeah, I think it's something I've been kind of really talking about lately is that safe spaces are often confused with comfortable spaces.
Yeah.
And that safe spaces aren't meant to be comfortable all the time. What it's meant to do is facilitate you through micro traumas in a place where you know that you're going to be held and that you're going to be cared for. it's not meant to just be comfortable all the time. That doesn't actually create any sort of growth in you. And so to be able to have a space like this where it's, you guys know who we are, we know who you are, we hear you, we have conversations in the DMs, we want to hold space for you in a place that you're going to actually be allowed to be challenged, and you're going to be allowed to go through and experience small versions of the traumas that maybe you've experienced in the past, and realize that those can be healed, and realize that you yourself can work through those, and that challenging those things is healthy. And that's what we're here to do.
Yeah. And, you know, and a good example of like how just open and honest, even like the girls came in with, like, one of the girls, you'll hear Jack, like, she didn't know my story. Like, Brooke knew me, I knew her, but Jack didn't know that I don't think she knew even if we had deconstructed or if we were religious. Like, she was just talking as she talks. And I really respected that she didn't know. And she jumped right in and she talked about her faith, and like she didn't stop talking about her faith when I was like, you know, I don't really like labels, but technically I would be more agnostic atheist. She just like stayed in her lane. She just kept on being herself, and I really respect that. And that's like what I would hope our guests come in being like, hey, this is like with no preconceived ideas of what of like what I resonate with, what I don't, you know, because really I'm there to talk to them and talk to you, the guests, and have really open dialogue. Nobody's trying to convert anybody. No. And as you were like mentioning, like, safe spaces, for me, a safe space is going to be a place where it's like there is open conversation and we can ask questions and like really ask questions. Honesty is the best safety. Yeah. And I think being in a safe space versus like a comfort zone may be two different things. Yeah, as people really just get conflated so often. They do get conflated. But I think for me, when things become like an echo chamber, that becomes unsafe for me. So I don't know if, you know, listening to this, a lot of curious cuties, you will probably relate to this, but when things start getting really repetitive and like you start asking questions and feeling like you can't ask certain things or you can't talk about certain things or you can't embrace someone else's faith or you can't whatever, because you're like, I don't know, I've deconstructed, so I can't have this conversation with this Christian. And it's like, okay, well, then what rules are you abiding by? Like what like mob think are you like under, like, following? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's always going to be... You're just looking for certainty again. It's just in something else. Exactly. And I think that's a big part of, you know, what we want to do on this podcast is to... We don't want certainty. We want curiosity. Yeah. So, all that being said, this is going to be a long episode because it's a good one. It is incredible. And I hope you guys are prepared. They're really great. Yeah, you guys are going to love them. You're really going to like it. I think you'll enjoy hearing me have this conversation with them. If you followed my journey for long, it might be interesting to hear me have this conversation like Adam mentioned in the beginning. So, yeah. All right, you guys. That'll be us for now. We're going to stop talking so you can actually hear the conversation. Enjoy Trailer Flowers, Brooke and Jack. I know you're going to love them. So, on to the episode. Well, Trailer Flowers. Yes. Welcome to Curiosity. We're so happy to be here. I know. So happy you are here, Brooke. Thank you for reaching out. Yes. We've known each other for a second. I haven't seen each other in I think years. Yeah. Except for when I randomly pop like by the street. Right. Always. Yeah. So yeah, I'm so glad you guys are here and you're a band. How long have you been a band now? Since COVID, since 2020. So we were born during the chaos of the world was shut down. Okay. Roommates we had at the time, the house we were living in, there were 6 of us locked in. Oh my gosh. Wow. And I feel all of you wanted to be a band, right? What is that? Honestly, we kind of were at the time. Okay. Yeah. We were like a mini label at the time. Cool. I love it. That was so fun. But I feel like that time for everyone was either deconstruction and pain and moving through grief and lower things that you had to heal, right? Or it was a time of things being born, and for us it was this creative explosion of Trailer Flowers. Yeah. Well, even in your like the bio says you make good things out of shit or something, and I'm like, that's kind of like how I guess your story of, you know, coming from COVID times. It was like, that was kind of shitty times. But out came Trailer Flowers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. If there's a way that I could describe it too, to like bring us back to that moment too, because that house we lived in off Overhill Drive was very special. And like, it was waking up at noon, and it was Brooke cooking for us. Like, for all
I think
of
I
us.
saw stories.
Probably.
Yeah.
It was like animals.
I was like,
it was
who-
outside
who-
swimsuits.
what is this family?
Yeah, no, it was definitely like chosen family 100%. And
Love.
we were all like deconstructing and reconstructing together.
Yeah.
And we were doing yoga outside on the driveway
love.
and coloring books and writing songs. And it was like a magical wonderland, honestly.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I actually had a pretty good COVID experience as well.
Yeah.
It was different. I mean, it was just my husband and I, but we had gone through a lot the previous years. And so COVID actually gave us the space to process a lot of what had happened over the past several years.
That's so special.
And I think it would have taken me a lot longer to get to where I am now if I hadn't had all that space.
Yeah. You're kicking ass.
Oh, thank you.
You are.
So are you
You're
guys.
changing the world.
You guys are cute. But okay, so you're roommates for a while, and then now you're no longer roommates.
Yes.
You both are engaged.
Years later, yeah.
Okay, this is years later. So
Years later.
it was 2020. You said that you know all this happened. So now we're in 2023. Like
Yeah.
the journey has been, you know, immaculate. You guys have gone on a talent show. You want to talk about that?
Sure.
Yeah, oh my God.
Yeah, we were just on America's Got Talent, and Lauren, you as a musician, you know, that era, when that age when you were like, if I just make it on American Idol, or if I can just sing for Simon Cowell.
Right.
So we were definitely working with a very old childlike fantasy part of ourselves.
Of course.
Like, this is a 20-year-old daydream of being seen on TV and getting that moment to shine.
Yeah.
And the audition process of the show took a very long time. But our first air date, we got to do an original song.
Cool.
And so if anything, that space alone like answered everything we had hoped it would be. You know, Jack's child wish to write songs, mine to be an artist, change the world, eradicate poverty, these like hard big things that I, you know, my child dream.
Right.
So we felt very close to those things during the first audition.
That's awesome.
It was very magical.
But then our second on-screen performance, you know, it took a lot of grit to give a lot of space to the show.
Of course.
So I think we're definitely recovering from a year of auditioning and committing to that space solely with our passions. Yeah. So it's good to be in the homeland.
When did that journey officially like end? When did you guys come home?
A couple weeks ago now.
Okay.
It's pretty fresh.
So fresh.
It was wild.
Yeah.
We've been auditioning for like, first it was The Voice.
Okay.
And we got like I don't know why, but we've always said that like our band like thing is going to be on TV first. Like that's going to start us off. And I don't know if it's because we're very like personality people and we're very like loud. So even just like vocally, we can just like sang. So I'm like, maybe it's going to be that. We've always prayed about that. But then The Voice happened. They gave us like 100% go ahead, like bought our tickets. And then they're like, actually, we're not going to use you this season. So that was like devastating to us.
Oh my.
Yeah. Because we'd already spent like months with them, like auditioning.
Yeah.
And then like a couple months later after that, that's when we got back in contact with America's Got Talent, and they were like, we want you, like
that was obviously meant to be.
Yeah, I totally think so. And like contract wise, I think that benefited us like so much more than The Voice would have. But yeah, we've had just really good like producers along the way for each show. Like our main producers have just been like so incredible.
Oh,
like
love that.
That was our
it makes or breaks you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like later on we had no control about what we did in the show, but in the early stages it was very like so much camaraderie between everybody, and it was really positive. It was a really positive experience.
Good. Some people come out of those experiences and are like traumatized.
We definitely, if anything,
Maybe
we
like
got
10% trauma.
Okay. Fair.
Yeah, we definitely we're not really phased by being roasted on national television. So
that's good.
the therapy,
part of the big personality.
Yeah, the therapy
We've
need
been through lots, and we're
was
like,
not
this ain't
based on them I don't know, making our lives not the most cozy for several weeks. It was more like the heart battle of the whole thing.
Right.
Like trauma, not from the show specifically, but just the tiredness of the dream, you know, like
of course
it's amazing how you think, oh, this is it. And in some capacity, and I'm a dreamer. I'm not really a realist. So it's very hard for me in those spaces where I'm working with something I've pictured, you know, and then, okay, stay the course. We're learning, we're growing still. You know, there's no arrival date or arrival space.
Of course.
And so I would have to admit that I think has been the hardest thing for me.
Yeah, it takes a lot of vulnerability for
sure.
Yeah,
and just anticipating that same like velocity with the dream as soon as my boots hit Tennessee again post show.
Yep.
But then accepting, okay, well now what is this season of life demanding?
And you already were, you know, running because you reached out to me. You're like, I'm trying to book some interviews. Like you're already like, okay, let's keep this momentum going. Let's just point in a different direction as far as it's all a part of the artistic, you know, the things that you're supposed to do. You have to go through like seasons of songwriting, seasons of like performing live, and like that's just there. It's all part of it. And I wanted to like ask you guys individually, you know, how has your like individual lives and struggles that you've each kind of dealt with, how has that shaped your music and your artistry?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Beautiful.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think that like we talked about it being like an old child dream. And I think that my dream has always been initially was a space to escape. It was a space where I had God's attention. It was a space where like the approval of others in my like unhealthy seasons, like it satisfied that itch. And then in my like really healthy, vulnerable places, you know, I have so many timestamps of these like intimate moments with myself where, you know, the live aspect of music, that connection piece with others, where I lose track of time and I'm like, this is it. This is where I'm most happy. This is what I want to do. And so my love story with music is definitely like past, present, and future, because I've never really spent time disconnected from trying to pursue that full time. And so within that, relationships become super important. And so my previous band, I've just always somehow been a magnet for these like dripping with talent songwriters. So you marry the songwriting goal to like grow in that space and having these like real life close chosen friends and family members to like empower me with the songwriting aspect where I'm weaker, and then my heart to like take it widespread. I found a lot of family in my journey from leaving home. And my childhood wasn't the most cozy, and I've definitely had to learn things the hard way. And so meeting up with these like mile marker relationships, it's just been really, really special to, I feel like we've done a lot more life than we have pursued music. And so I think that's what makes it special, is that awareness that like, no, we're going to do life together. And in that we're going to get really good songs and we're going to connect on some amazing stages. But I definitely have been blessed with making music with people who aren't satisfied with like the lights side of the music and are just true artists. So yeah, I think that's I wouldn't do it any other way. So yeah.
What about you? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, for sure. There's so it's interesting. Brooke and I we met, so we went to the same, or we lived in the same hometown for years. We didn't know each other.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, which is so weird, you know? Like,
So
literally
crazy.
lived maybe a mile from each other, went to rival high schools. We were, like, right on that line,
Wow.
you know?
Yeah.
She had friends that were my friends, and I had friends that were her friends. Like, very weird.
So
I was working at Chuck E. Cheese, and 2 doors down is the Steak and Shake that she was working at.
My gosh.
And I was there every Thanksgiving eating, and I know that she was probably working. There's definitely times where we like
so
have
crazy.
crossed paths before, yeah. But we didn't like officially meet until Nashville, and we like randomly became roommates, and it's such an interesting story because it's like a kind of like a mutual friend of ours.
Okay.
Like I went out to coffee with her, and she was
a
like,
Nashville mutual friend or a home mutual friend?
mutual friend. Yeah. So I meet up with her name is Kayla. I meet up with Kayla to get coffee, and she asked me like, because I only had a place to live for like 2 weeks. I just like moved here with a suitcase like everybody. So I meet up with Kayla, and she's like, we're looking for a 5th roommate.
Yeah.
Like in our house. Do you want to come look at the house with me? I'm like, fuck yeah, I want to come look at the
Yeah.
house. Like I have nowhere to go.
Of course. You're
So-
like, I need a home, so yes.
Literally. So I get in the car with Kayla. We drive down the street to 2028 Overhill Drive, and I get out, and we're like walking around the house. I didn't know anybody else was there. And then we were walking up the stairs to the attic, which is like a bedroom. And Brooke is up there just looking like a fucking crackhead. I'm like, oh my God, who is this woman?
Like,
I
I'm
was
unsafe.
inspecting.
She was inspecting. And I like, she doesn't even say hi to me. She just like grabs my arm and says, you have Jesus eyes.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is very Brooke.
I know, right? I know. That's one part of her that hasn't changed. She's still crazy. But so then after that, it was like we met up for like our first like little friend date, and we just sat there for hours and like pretty much like told each other like our whole life stories and like chose each other in that moment.
Right.
And yeah, we didn't think we were gonna become a band.
Yeah.
Even whenever it did happen.
Like, just like having fun. And,
yeah. Like we started living together in 2018. So it was like years of her encouraging me with my songwriting and me encouraging her with her music, you know? And then after, you know, years of experiencing that and then COVID happening, she's like randomly one day around the fire asked me like, Jack, do you want to be in a band with me? And I said, fuck no, I do not want to be in a band with you. And because that's just like was
Shut
not
down.
my thing.
Shut down.
But of course she was like, well, let's just do it for fun. Like,
Yeah.
you pick a word and I'll pick a word.
Okay.
And I said, well, it's gotta be trailer something.
Yeah.
And she said flowers. And then,
You.
yeah, just
Wait,
kind of like,
instantly.
yeah.
The first 2 words, like your first word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we were
cool.
like, that's fucking genius.
Well, we
It
looked at
is.
each
Yeah,
other and
yeah.
we're like, I mean, we were hustlers at the lemonade stand growing up. Like, we are entrepreneurs.
Okay.
So
I
when
love
we
it.
heard Trailer Flowers, that ring,
we were like, ding, ding, ding.
we
ding,
heard,
Yeah.
yeah, we got to
Like,
tilted our
there's
heads.
branding in that.
Yeah,
I'm here for it.
exactly.
Marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some authentic branding in that. So then we just like, it's like everyone was high, but we weren't high. We were like standing around the island in our kitchen, just like freaking out.
Were other people around you, like, at the time?
Yeah.
Like, watching this all? Okay.
yeah.
They're
So
like,
it was,
what are we watching right now?
Yeah, exactly. It was my sister and like our 4 or 5 like closest friends, and we were all just like boom, 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 just like freaking out, and just kind of I think like definitely got the vision for Trailer Flowers that night, and
Right.
that's when Brooke
It was
came
born.
up with
Yeah.
We Make Good Things Out of Shit, and then
Love it.
I
Same
started
night?
writing the theme song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You guys
Yeah.
were riding a high for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It was very magical,
Yeah.
honestly. Which that's when I feel like it's from the creator when like
course.
something just like happens like that.
Mhm. Like a download.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
So that's how we all started, which is funny and weird, and we never were gonna take it seriously until people like actually started like liking it.
Yeah.
And then we're like, do we need to like do this?
Your
for real?
vocals are awesome.
Thank
They're
you.
amazing.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
Brooke, you know I've complimented your
Yes.
voice like forever. It's very Miley-esque.
Yes.
But together you guys are just, it sounds so beautiful. It's very captivating.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you could
appreciate
describe
that.
the music in Trailer Flowers music
Yeah.
Yeah.
in your own words, how
Ooh.
would you describe it?
Yeah.
That's good.
That is really good. I think that Brooke and I have different influences, but they like come together very nicely. So I definitely think like Miley is an influence.
Yeah.
And the Dixie Chicks are an influence.
Mm-hmm.
And Brad Paisley is an influence.
I love it.
Yeah. There's like definitely different influences for writing versus like vocally.
Yep. Of course.
Because Brooke grew up on all the like classic pop rock stuff.
Yeah.
And I was definitely more like the Carole King, James Taylor kind of like that was my childhood.
Got you.
So I think that they marry very well. And
they
just
do.
like Brooke's dream of like she wants to be a superstar, and then my dream of wanting to be a songwriter, I feel like that it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like how we came together, and that's the vibe.
The collaboration is like perfect.
And I think like sonically, the first thing that I think is Trailer Flowers is we really, in the writing room, we're having so much fun writing like anthematic melodies, like loud, belty melodies that had a lot of humor to them. So the OG, I think, sonic sound of us is just this like wall of a lot of unison, and it's funny, and I think throughout the early, like the first year is when we really learned like, oh, we can make people laugh and we can make them cry, and that's where we feel most alive in our writing spaces. So we have this very like lyrical, like hyper emotional side of us, but then we definitely have this comedic element to kind of poke fun at like the really hard truths that we've been through. And, you know, we've made really, really bad mistakes, which is awesome. We've lived a lot of life, you know? Yeah. So we have these, like, in terms of writing, we have these themes and these spaces that we can write about that I don't think everyone can go to.
Right.
And I think that's why we're relating to this archetype fan that we've named our flower, you know, that is batshit crazy and maybe has this holy transition, you know, this sanctifying new virgin, higher version of self arrived flower.
Love that.
And so I feel like we're motivated to find those flowers, you know, to meet people where they're at, but to find the polished flowers that have so much pride and overcoming the crazy, and then also the ones that are like in that storm and maybe owning that storm right now, you know. The part we left out when Trailer Flowers came to be, this is like peak me on the border cusp of like breaking all of these like really bad coping mechanisms. And so I was like, I had a bird's eye view of like, I was starting to fully be aware of like what I was combating, but not all the way. So I was definitely alive, and we were selling the best weed brownie recipe in town. That is how we paid our bills. It is how we survived COVID.
Green Hills right here.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. We have a song about a sugar daddy. Like, it was an era of me
hilarious,
like making my final bow of like batshit crazy moments. And so it created this space to really write the funny side of that, and then also the scary, truthful side of it.
Right.
And so I think we're gonna write for a very long time, because at this point we just know each other's stories so intimately.
Right. You can intertwine them. I was gonna ask, like, what is like a message or something that you want to convey, or the vision you want to convey through your music?
I think that Brooke and I, we are very similar in the way we think about things, but we also come from a different space too, because our childhoods were so different. In their own crazy way. But I think the marrying of everything that we've been through makes us more relatable to people, which I think is so special. The fact that it's two of us, you know, and not just one of us, like the people that we've been able to reach, just even having our one song out that we do have out. Like, that's a song that came in like 15 minutes and in my bedroom, but it's me and Brooke's childhood story. It's not just one of us, you know?
Like, she takes first verse and you take second. It's like, both.
It's really like, that wasn't the intention in writing it too. It just kind of like came out that way. But I think that's even like God's plan for us too a little bit, is that like your stories are gonna be married and you're gonna be able to reach more people that way. So I think that, you know, our theme or our goal maybe, or just even mine with our music is just it's like those songs that you're like, this song was written about me, or the song was like written for me. I think God can do that like through people. Like, I think that songwriting for me is like the most spiritual thing ever. So that's what I hope that we can continue to do as a band, so that we don't get kind of like lost in the game, you know. How a lot of people just like they'll just start, you know, cutting songs that don't,
cranking
like,
things out that don't mean anything to them.
I pray that we continue to just be like authentic in ourselves and our songs keep doing that, because that I feel like is the most special thing that an artist can do. Like those are my favorite artists, is the ones where I'm like, oh my God, this is my song, you know? And I want people to like take ownership of our songs like that. Like this song is like my song. Yeah. Like I want that still.
Yeah. And I think that we're so intentional about protecting each other's heart dream. And I think that's why the balance is so organic, and we're friends first. And then after that is protecting and encouraging each other's dream. And that dream right now behaves with us participating together. But it's really cool, the boundaries we have with her pursuing her heart wish first and me doing the same. And it's really, really cool that it's us collaborating.
For sure.
But I also know that there is this classic thing we want to achieve in timeless space with the music we're writing and the records and the narrative and all of it, because we want to jump on a stage when we're 65, you know, and have the permission to be fluid creatively in other spaces. So there's just a lot of like, there's been a lot of intention behind, I don't know, like the whole facet of what it means to be a trailer flower. Yeah. That it's more of an identity that we wear when we come together.
For sure.
In that way. But then outside of the trailer flowers identity, there's a writer. Yeah. And then there's a writer and a singer, and there's a almost wife. And so we take a lot of pride in who we are outside of trailer flowers too, which I think is good.
You really infuse who you are into your artistry. Yeah. So you said that it took you like 15 minutes to write your single, Daughter of a King. So kind of walk me through that. Were you by yourself? Were you with Brooke? Like what was the process of writing that like?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like whether I'm with Brooke or not, we do write really quickly. I don't know what that is, but or it takes us like 3 months to write, but we're so weird. We don't like push. We like sit in a room, and if there's like something that comes out really quick, that's like what we use, and then we come back to it. But with Daughter of a King, it was just me and my bedroom. Okay. And I really, in town, I don't really like write well with a lot of people. Like I don't know what it is. I'm very much like a feeler when it comes to like spaces in those rooms, and it's like, for me, songwriting is not like a mechanical thing. Like I can't just go in and be like, that rhymes, so we're gonna use it.
Yeah. I feel that.
So I'm just like, I like kind of like being alone, honestly, or just with somebody that I trust a lot. For sure. Unless it's like a thing where I just hit it off with somebody right away. But yeah, I've had a couple of experiences where songs have just like fallen out in like 3 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever. And that was the situation with Daughter of a King. It just like kind of wrote itself. Yeah. Even in the original voice memo that I have of it, it's like,
it sounds the same.
It literally just sounds the same.
It's amazing.
And it's like word for word. Like I didn't change any words. Like it is the same. Like all the way through.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's not me, obviously. It's Jesus. But it's like, I'm grateful that I was chosen as the vessel, because it's like such an insane experience. I can't explain it. But that's definitely like, I think my favorite version of like worship is the songwriting aspect of it. So thank you, Jesus. I appreciate you.
But at that time that song came, you know, we named some other titles in the catalog, you know, Sugar Daddy, all the other things. She came into my room and she was like, do you like this? You know, that space when a friend that's an artist is like, I don't know,
Yeah, scary.
And that's my favorite space, because I am a really good cheerleader.
You are, no, you're great. She's the reason why I'm like, half so my shit is like, I'm like, oh, I know this is good.
It's like it's like a grandma. Yeah, it's like a grandma love though. Yeah. Like for my friends, you know, so unfortunately, a lot of it is I am going to celebrate whatever they bring in, because I get so hype. I'm like, oh my goodness.
But Brooke also knows like what good songs are. Like it's very interesting. I feel like you could have definitely been like an A&R.
Oh yeah,
because you're good at picking them.
Thank
honestly.
You have to.
Yeah,
people will like, you only really get one shot, especially with your first single.
Yeah. For sure.
So that's like a tough. It's almost like it's scary to put out your first single versus like the rest.
Yeah.
But now you have a good single out and you got to follow it up.
Yeah. The one thing that's weird with which I know that we've
I was just
like talked about with Daughter of a King is like, the show kind of like chose what our first single was a little bit, because that's like the song that they had chosen, you know.
Got it.
And that's such a blessing. And the fans that we do have from that song are just like, it's crazy that
they've been through it.
Yeah, that was our like wish. It wasn't like we didn't want to attract like the necessarily like perfect Christians. We're like, that wouldn't work for us. Like we would get eaten alive constantly if that was our fan base, for sure. Which we kind of already have a little bit. But it's us trying to figure out like, okay, what's next for us without like freaking people out, you know, the people that we do have, because like Brooke said, we do have songs about sugar daddies, and we do, or at least I cuss a lot, so it's like finding the merriment of like, okay, like I don't have to be perfect, you know, and that whole situation, like navigating that.
You know all about that world. So
and all of our listeners do too.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I think that we're not scared at all to be what we are. And it's so much more exciting when you're confronted with people who know what they believe, question what they believe, love what they believe. And so the Trailer Flowers prototype, you know, their identity as maybe a Christian, like they're that badass Christian. They're the one that says, hey, sit down. Let me tell you a story about back in the day when I, you know, smoked this off someone's titties. Like they're honest, and they get to like authentically share a transformative story. And
those are powerful.
And that's the Christian DNA that we participate in as Trailer Flowers. It's the changed self. It's the self that you always wanted to be, and co-creating with something bigger than you.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. And I was gonna ask too, like you kind of already answered it, but the themes in the next coming songs are they're different then. Daughter of the King. So it's quite varied.
They're life songs.
They are. And I think that because we walk through life with Jesus, it's like Jesus is in all of our songs, but he's in the song about a sugar daddy. Like we don't separate it, you know, which is weird for people, but that's okay for us. And I think that
it certainly gives you a niche. I mean, these days people are very much struggling with finding a niche. So I don't think you guys struggle with that. Like you have that country Christian thing going on. I was talking to you know Adam, so he technically is the co-host of this podcast. I know Brooke, you know all of these things, but and I was like, I've been listening to the song, and at first I was like, okay, is it Christian? Okay, it is Christian, because as if you don't know our story, like our podcast even used to be called Deconstruct up until like a month ago.
Oh wow.
And we've deconstructed our faith. He and I like relatively kind of aligned with agnostic atheist to this point. We used to be in the Christian music industry together, so that's like our background. So I'm like well versed in like what you guys are talking about, but also like we've gotten to the point where I'm having conversations now back on this podcast with people who like Jesus, whereas before, you know, a couple of years ago, we were just talking to people about like breaking down their faith, questioning things, which we still do.
It's very important to do that.
But I think it's interesting hearing and having these conversations where it's being brought back up, but in a healthier place. I just had a conversation with someone who she said that when she was in Nashville, one of the things that she was really excited about was that like it kind of brought Jesus back into her life in a different way, because she also had deconstructed, like a lot of us are, and everyone who's a listener to this podcast like has deconstructed their faith to a point. You know, we've all landed in different places, but and what she was saying was that, you know, she is now like back into the spirit and energy of who Jesus is. And even as someone who is agnostic, atheist, or whatever, I don't really identify with any label. I told her, I was like, I would much rather Jesus in the hands of you than like so many other people. And so that's kind of how I feel about you guys too. Although I don't like identify as Christian, I like and appreciate how you guys implement your faith into your artistry, because you are like true to yourselves, and you are, you know, your swear like part your thing in your bio, like that gave me comfort that you swore, because I was like, okay, so I can know where like we're going with this conversation even from there. Otherwise I'm like, I probably would have told you guys we can't do the
not the right fit.
Recording because we wouldn't be the right fit if you guys were just like
Mm-hmm.
the typical Christian music route.
Wow.
But you're not doing that. Like you're just being honest with who you are as like artists, and your faith is part of your life. And so I really appreciate that, and just wanted to give you a little bit of our background, because I know Brooke knows, but you didn't know.
Thank you for sharing that.
Let you know. Yeah,
and thank you for saying all that. That was really
Of course.
sweet. Yeah, I think that me and Brooke aren't here to preach. Like far from it. Like I don't think that anybody really needs to be preaching. Because like what the Bible says, the church is right now. It's us three together. Like it doesn't have to be this like structured thing,
Right.
But yeah, I think that like what you just said, like that is our hope for people, you know, is to feel comfortable with us. And even if they don't believe or even are seeking out or even want to be like a believer, like just that we're people, and that, like if we can like just bring some like joy or like that like fluffy feeling that you get in your heart, like that we can do that.
I love that.
And that's really, really beautiful how you said what she brought into the space, and I think on my deconstruction journey, the main thing that I wrestled with God about was, I could easily take on countless identities that I could not relate to many of the people in anywhere near Brentwood area, Franklin, Tennessee, and church. I couldn't relate to them because of the identities that I had. And here we are, discussing that you're a new creation and you're this new thing, but feeling that fell flat when you were around people who took on the identity of a believer in Christ. And so as much as there is not this passion to convert or preach, there is a passion for me to advocate for any woman, any girl out there that doesn't feel like they're enough. And I think why the song Daughter of a King is so powerful for me is because we get to sing that lyric, like, you are enough. You are built from something that is just as worthy and not disconnected from that thing, just like the person sitting next to you. And I think that's a very flawed space for Christianity, where people perceive themselves as separated from that truth. And so I think it's so healing to my heart to be able to speak over every person, no matter who they are, regardless of your ideology or what you believe. I'm going to speak over you that we're connected to the same thing. And so I think we're motivated as a band to truly advocate that and truly be that. Because I mean, I had it hard. I got wrapped up into the whole space where I felt like I had to choose, like, am I going to be a worship leader and sing for the Lord and have this life of holiness, or am I going to be of the world? And I think that I've found Trailer Flowers to be the most spectacular space to not be of the world, to not be of the things I see around me, and to co-create with God something fluffy and safe and magnetic and true, and real. And so, we're just interested in, being a part of something that's happy and loving and honest and real. And, and so, I really hope, and you can't control your audience, but I really hope that we aren't met with the expectation to lead or preach, but that we are met with the expectation that we get to write songs, life songs, and story songs. So it's going to be interesting what of the flowers we have now might turn their back on us due to the true
if you're
stories.
honest from the get-go and like very authentic, like I have found that as you evolve and as you write different things, personally, this has been my testament, the right people will stay with you. And it's so much more rewarding to know that I can show up however I want to show up on any given day, whether it's on my social media or on this podcast, and have all the different conversations that I've had over the years. And because I've been honest at every point, I know that like they're just going to hear me where I'm at, you know? And I've had people, you know, in the past, like turn their backs on me, but that was whenever I was like, mostly when I was coming from being in the Christian industry to leaving. That was like the big turnover. But as soon as people found out that I was just the person that was going to keep evolving and chasing what lights me up, no matter what, they got on board. They're like, okay, I get it. And the right people left and the right people stayed.
That's so good.
That's like a universal thing.
It is.
Yeah, such a universal thing. Because it is heartbreaking too whenever, you know, like whenever people do leave, just like in general, like if it's your fans or if it's your friends, like you're like, am I doing the right thing? Like,
oh, of course, you question yourself. You can't help but question yourself, especially if it's someone you know. You know, and they let you know, or they're like disappointed or whatever. I mean, you learn to grow a little bit thick skin, and you guys have it. Like you just mentioned barely a little bit about like your background, and like you've both been through a lot. So as you were saying, even on the TV show, it's like, I don't know. I guess you just kind of roll with it. You're like, I'm just gonna keep staying true to me and see what sticks.
Yeah, I honestly kind of even want to share more about it, because me and Brooke's experience when, honestly, both times we went to LA, it was like, it's so interesting, like the energy that you feel when you go certain places. I don't know if like you've experienced this, but it's like it could even be in like a random house or like a just around a person. Like there's definitely like this like energy that I feel, at least like personally. And the last 2 times we were in LA, it was like super eerie. Like it's hard for me to explain. Because we've had great experiences in California, like the most life-giving, like we've had the most fun. But the first time that we went, I was really sick, like got really sick. And then this time Brooke got really sick. So it's like
interesting.
And my uncle passed unexpectedly the night of the performance. So whether you're an energy person, a Christian,
something was
whatever
off.
That you whatever I really think we were like in that really like that line of change, like drastic change, like there was a resistance, and we felt it heavy, and it didn't feel necessarily for us. It felt like we had to put our feet in the ground and be like, this is what I'm doing. And
been there before, by the way. Like big time, when I was in music, and it was like there was so many reasons why we shouldn't have shown up to that show. You know, there are so many reasons why we should have turned around. And then things just would go so wrong. Like we felt it in our souls first, and we were like, I didn't want to go. We were like, whatever, I could go on. I have so many of that stories from the road.
Honestly crazy instances. Like if you want to share one right now, even like,
I mean, there's just so many. Like I can't even. One time we were supposed to stay with like a host home kind of situation. I'm gonna make a very long story short.
Okay, cool.
We ended up staying in the homeless shelter in the French Quarter of New Orleans.
You're kidding. Goodness.
With no AC, no blankets. And we had to leave in the morning because people were lining up to take their showers.
Oh my gosh.
Again, very long story short. And that was one of those shows where we're like, we should not have been there. That shouldn't have happened. And then, I mean, just so many different things.
It makes
so many different times.
It makes you though. It makes you. And so, that wall of like, I don't know, pressure. I'm so grateful we were there together. Because
it helps when you're with a friend.
Because we both sensed it, and we both, I don't know, I just know that the lessons, they're going to roll out forever post that experience. Like processing that, like we're not going to do that in 2 weeks. So I think we're still processing different aspects of it. And being physically ill is just not, that's for every person. When you're physically ill, it's just like, it's tough. It's tough.
Of course.
So,
and I think our, like, back to the toughness thing, like, I'm grateful that, like, we were, like, put through the ringer, like, both times we went there, but definitely the second time we went there, it was a lot of, like, creepy, weird shit.
So do you feel like you shouldn't go back? Is that kind of that vibe? Or was it just, like, something wasn't right? You were, like, what did that tell you?
Yeah, I think
what did you walk away with, I guess?
I think that it proved to us that, like, I think the best way for me to say it is that whenever you're supposed to do something, I think that, you know, like things that aren't for us can make it look like this, we shouldn't be here doing this right now. But it is something that we should be doing. Like that song that we got to sing, the second song that we got to sing, we got a message on Instagram, like from somebody saying this, like, this song like stopped me from killing myself.
Oh my God.
So it's like all of those moments that we had that week that were like absolutely insane. I won't even get into it, but like the things that could have stopped us or scared us from doing what we needed to do, like, and we did it. And then after we did it, we got eaten alive by the judges.
Yeah. Oh no.
And they were like
Roasted.
weird. They were very like frantic and like
just negative.
odd. It was just the weirdest situation
So
ever.
you're like, it's just not right.
Yeah, no, it was very like, it's we didn't like, you know, when you like we didn't like necessarily accept what they said, because we were like, you know what, like that's cool, like what you said, but like we've seen what's happened for us this week.
Let it roll off your back.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of people would have like cried or like been upset or like said some mean shit, but like we were
like true beauty queens.
I was fucking laughing. I was like, you've got to be fucking with me right now. I was like, oh, there's like videos of me like my facial response on stage. I was like,
oh yeah,
you're fucking with me right now. And then Brooke's eyes are like,
well, we didn't feel supported.
Yeah.
While we were out there, we didn't feel supported by production with the audition,
which was a bummer.
our second one.
Yeah.
And in terms of like answering like what we learned or like what we think the point of that wall was, I don't think we've ever left a stage more like fired up and confident in what we want to do.
Okay.
So it was like, so it was like we were met with this wall of like breakdown. And I almost feel like the universe was just testing, what are you made of?
Sure.
And we did through the hell, we did leave there knowing undeniably what we are, what we want to say, why we like it, why we don't like why we're even doing this.
It like refined you. It didn't break you down. It just refined you.
And when we stepped off, all the other, it was weird. Like we were, I think, from a casting standpoint, we were selected to be the ones they roasted, and so you saw the other cast, you know, cast members like bonding in the Sonic room with the TV judges, and we walk onto the red carpet, and I mean, it's mics in our face, it's lights, and you go back to that child like daydream, like I've had a vision for this, like I've seen this before, and we were answering like trailer flower pageant beauty queens, you know, like we were on it. We said things that were true. Like she kicked ass in the interview process post show. And I think that we both, it was like an eye-opening experience. Like I am pretty confident I had COVID while this was happening. Yikes. And so I'm having chest pain. It's hard to breathe. And we're just, we got to like look at each other, finish each other's statements. And there wasn't a thing that she was replying with that didn't feel true inside of me. That's also important, so it's exciting that we get to start this post leg of the show, like just so confident in this is what we are, this is what we're gonna do. The only person in our lives, Jesus Christ, can name what we are, what we aren't. And so there is that space of celebration from the lesson, but didn't negate that it sucked. So
rough.
Sure. It was very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting, but here you are now.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a magical like coming to being thing. Yeah. Like it's like when you climb a mountain and you know, people could say that like, oh, like you would have done better if you didn't do that, but to us, like we know that like we were supposed to be on that show. Yeah. And we did exactly what we needed to do, even if it affected one person positively. Yeah. But it's that I think us saying all this is us trying to encourage people, like when it does look like I'm gonna get hurt doing this, like do it, because like even if you feel any sort of flicker of like I need to do this for myself, or like this is really scary and it's gonna make me feel really uncomfortable, or like, you know, like all the things, like do it. Just do it. Do it for you. And if it's, you know, some sort of like passion that you have in you, I think you should do it.
Oh, I love that. That's a good word of encouragement. You recorded with, who was it, Brandon Hood? Okay. So tell me about that experience.
Yeah.
Because we talked about the songwriting part. That's one aspect, but let's talk about the recording.
I think that Brooke will have more to say about this than me for sure. Okay. Because she's had some interesting recording experiences in the past being in a band. But it was really important to us that we found a producer that understood the way we wanted to be mixed. Like that's our most important thing. like we're in a duo. It's
Right.
not like Brooke or I are like the main and the other person's like the background. It's
Yeah.
like we're both like, that's what I think makes our sound so special. It's
Yeah.
like we're not just like
We're both the sauce, damn it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we are both the
It's
sauce.
so special that you found somebody who like recognizes that. 'Cause I
Yeah.
was someone who was in a duo for all my
you
life.
know that
yeah,
pain.
you totally
was
know.
So hard.
It's annoying.
Yeah, because it's always like somebody's like pitting somebody against the other. It's
Yeah.
like, oh well, this person sounds better in this or whatever, so they're
Yeah.
gonna sing it. Like that wasn't the intention. Actually,
not the
we wrote it
conductor.
like this. To
Yeah.
whatever. So that's really good.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. No, that was definitely like a benefit. And yeah, he's just like so open, and he's not like one of those producers that like thinks he's hot shit, you know, and like his way is the only way, which has
That's
been
good.
a blessing to us. Like he's been very, like he's wanted to do it our way. And he's got great bedside manner. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've had a great experience with him. And then we also, are recording with another producer too. His name's Ted T.
Okay.
And he's like way more in the Christian industry, but he like has.
Sorry, this is bothering me.
There you go.
But he is thank you so much for loving me. For like but yeah, Ted is definitely like in the Christian industry, and he like has like met us where we are, and like he's not judgmental or like intimidating. He's very like encouraging to like for what we're doing, which has been like such a blessing too. So we've got like a nice little like cocktail of producers that are like really
Finally.
iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a fucking time.
Yeah.
trying
And
to
it
find a
doesn't
producer.
mean we can necessarily afford them still. So
Yeah. You're like stream the single.
Yeah, no, it's literally all free. Like literally, God bless them, because there's
Aw.
no other way that we would have been able to do anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the space with Ted is fun because, you know, when you meet someone for the first time, we didn't sit down and he's like, so who are you? What do you want to say?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I hate
like
that shit.
those questions didn't need to be asked. We
Right.
got into the room and we made music.
Yeah.
And he captured it.
That's so good.
Yeah, we're eager to find more of those yes people, I
Yeah.
guess, that sonically get us, that professionally, businessly,
Yeah.
marketing, all of it. Like we're not interested in like defending what we are
Right.
anymore. It's
Right.
like
good.
y'all have the TikTok link, don't you?
Right.
Like,
Yeah. We're all over social media. You
Yeah.
can figure it out yourself.
Yeah. And-
No, because people like don't they've definitely tried to put me and Brooke in a box. Which is, that's been our whole life. But
Yeah.
so I'm not surprised that it's still happening
Yeah.
now. But they're like, you like, we obviously have our own lane because there's nobody like us.
Yeah.
but they're
You
like,
have your niche.
exactly. But they're like, you know, you need to be more this or more that, and like come out with these 5 songs first because you don't want to overwhelm people.
Yeah.
I was like, overwhelm
It's
people?
hilarious. It's hilarious
You're like,
to
actually,
me.
I don't know. Maybe I do.
Yeah.
You don't know what I want.
Yeah. Or there's so many people that would connect with it. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't think that people are going to be overwhelmed by this. I think they're
Right.
going to connect.
I
Yeah.
do, and I do think in all of the relationships that have failed or not moved forward,
Sure.
I mean, our team
There's a
is
lot of
still very,
Yeah.
very small.
Yeah.
This is still a mom and pop shop operation.
Yeah.
But
Roadside diner.
I almost feel like in reflection, it's like people see what they want to see.
Yeah.
So there's so much that we are, and there's so many things that we do. And so I think you have the division of, they think we're bad Christians, they think we're good Christians, or they think we're just hilarious comedians. And it's like, no, baby, we get to be all of it.
It's actually
and
all of them.
everything.
Yeah.
It's like, no, put us in like a Nutter Butter commercial and
Yeah.
let us show our bods and
Yeah.
let us talk to 12-year-old youths about not getting sex trafficked. Like,
Yeah.
let
Yeah.
us do it all.
What a
Like,
clip.
you know, like let us be all those things. And I think some of those relationships, they just kind of reach a dead end where
Yeah.
they hope and they get excited about a facet of us versus like letting us be the trailblazers and letting us guide the ship and them collaborate where their talent lies. So we're trying to find people who are really good at what they do, because we want to collaborate. We want to hand stuff off, you know, and we're always open to the best idea wins.
Yeah.
But we just haven't really found that in a business space yet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we want to be the fucking Shack of country music.
Yeah.
Like, put us
Do it.
everywhere.
Be
We
it.
want to be in the Colgate commercial, the Progressive commercial, the Nutter Butter commercial, the Nair commercial. Like, literally
That's
put us
amazing.
everywhere.
yeah, we
Yeah.
have
Love
jingles for all
that.
this shit too.
Yeah.
See, and this
We got
is
so many
why,
jingles.
and this is why you're on Curiosity, because all the Curious Cuties are like, we're all like that. We're so like multifaceted.
Yeah.
We don't want to be known as just one thing. We also
Yes.
don't want to know just one thing.
Yeah.
That's literally why it's called Curiosity. It's the people who have curious minds and like can't be boxed in.
It's so good.
Oh, I love it.
So yeah, I mean, obviously you're on the
a
right
great-
show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
there we
are.
go. We're curious.
Right.
What do you call
Yes.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Curious Cuties.
Yeah,
Yeah.
curious cutie.
I
Yeah.
love
Oh my
it.
god, I love
That's
it.
so
I'm a
good.
cutie.
Yeah, you are a cutie.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. That's what I call our listeners. They're our little cuties.
Yes.
so adorable.
Yeah, it's something we like. Obviously, we all have in common.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you guys also perform live,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and you're kind of known for like this very engaging, high energy level performance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think is like is it just your big personalities that you want like coming through, or is like what's the secret to creating like such an engaging show?
Yeah.
I think that Brooke will talk more on this too, because she's more of the superstar.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's a mixture of our storytelling and our comedy and our just like natural talent that we have.
Yeah.
Like, thank you God that we just like, Brooke and I sound like one voice when we sing together. And I think that people haven't heard that in a long time.
Yeah.
Because we are, you know, in a duo, and it's hard for duos to like let the other person shine.
Yeah. People probably think you're sisters.
Oh,
yeah.
they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's either
People-
lesbians or sisters.
Yeah.
So
Also relatable.
Yeah.
That was for us as well. It was me and my sister.
Right? No
And
way.
people either thought we were twins, though.
yeah.
Or there were times, even in the Christian music industry,
Yeah.
they're like, you look like lovers. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
like-
well, sorry, we're just like standing next to each other a little too close.
Yeah.
Sorry, we have the same genes.
Yes.
Sorry, we're hot as hell.
true.
It's platonic love.
Yeah.
But your heart can't handle it.
And also, if you were lesbian lovers, that's fine too. And
Yeah.
that's another
we
another
wrote
level
that
of
for
like
a long time.
shaking up the
Oh,
industry.
yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, we have
For sure.
we do have a song about a lovely ladies making love. So
Yeah.
we
Oh
do
my
it
gosh.
all.
Yeah.
We do it all.
Oh, that'll be fun. Are you
Yeah.
going to release that one?
That-
we definitely want to release. There's one about men too, and we want to release that one for sure. That's like our song that's floated around town that like people love, which is so
Okay.
funny. But it is a fucking
It's called
banger.
Rhinestone Cowboy.
Okay.
And all of our songs, because we're writing about the flower, his name is Ricky the Rhinestone Cowboy.
Okay.
And so there's just these spaces in the catalog where characters have relationships with other characters.
Okay.
And sometimes it ends in a love story.
That is hilarious.
Sometimes, yeah.
all based on true events, believe it or not.
But it's our song.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh,
That's
yeah.
fun. I
Yeah.
like that.
That's even more. Yeah, that's even more fun. Just because. Yeah. No, there's so much that we could do with it in the future. Like, we want to make a movie about it, and then all of our fans are gonna be like, "Oh my god, I
Yeah.
wonder who it is. I wonder who Ricky is. You know, or I wonder who Benton is, or Brandy is, or Cletus is." There's so many like ratchet characters that we just love.
Love
Yeah.
those names.
Yeah,
Those
right.
are
Yeah.
good
They're
names
all
as well.
beautifully redneck.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Mhm.
Okay, and so with your like live performance, it's definitely
I'm
like
sorry.
incorporates
we're-
all of
Take a
that.
lot. Yeah, I think the live thing too is we're perfectionists.
Yeah.
And so there is a lot of it is organic, off the cuff, making the other one laugh, challenging the other live even,
Yeah.
like that little space, like we can run down a rabbit hole where it's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
And then we remember that, and so we implement it for the next time. And so I think that's where the comedic reference comes in,
Yeah.
is because our banter, it's not always thought out. Sometimes it's off the cuff, but
Yeah.
we do recycle, fun moments.
Yeah.
So there's that space. And then also, I mean, from like the heart mushy gushy, you have her songwriter wish, and then you have my wish, which is I learned a long time ago that success in a live show is singing for the one in the room.
Yeah.
And so I think in different ways, like that empowers us and is like our favorite part of performing live. You know, you find that one person in the room, whether it's post show that you learn, wow, we did it.
It was for that
we
person,
sang
yeah.
for that person.
Uh-huh.
Or if it's in the moment, like it's amazing, like to make that eye contact as you're looking out and it's like, damn, that person is going through something right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Or
That's powerful.
damn, that person, like they're laughing this hard because their heart needs to laugh.
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
so it's all about the one person in the room.
Yeah.
And I think that we'll never retire that like heart wish when we go to like do our thing and execute our thing. And I think that's why the live shows are so inviting, you know, because we're like sensitive to that.
Yeah. So. And the banter is nice. Before my sister and I were ever Christian music, we actually were not. And we did more just, we did like a bunch of covers. We did like 4-hour shows. That was the best time.
Yeah.
Aww. That was before we ever were like, told to say certain things or kind of like fit in a box. We were just learning how to play our instruments basically and perform together. And while we were doing that, we were playing like Hard Rock cafes and like
I love
like
it.
Clubs and bars and things like that. And honestly, when I look back at our entire career, which spanned almost a decade, those are the most fond memories that we have, just because I think when we got to be our most authentic and fun and like comedic even selves, I think that's a part of artistry that a lot of people don't actually incorporate. I mean, a lot of people aren't funny, first of all. That's just how it is. But second of all, like a lot of people don't realize like you can bring the heart and you can bring like the other side of your life. You can bring like your personality and like cracking jokes color. And like, the color and all of that. And I think that's like very cool and like obviously genuine of you guys to like bring your whole personality. Do you have like any moment that you can think of from a live show that you were like, that was hilarious, or like you surprised one another with something you said or anything like that?
There are so many.
It's just that cusp of like being cancelable. Like canceled, not for necessarily canceled, not necessarily for like political, just solely political things, but just on like
saying the craziest shit.
Just we're unfiltered.
Like, she did not just say that.
It's like we're just unfiltered.
But you kind of get to. Right now with your niche, like you kind of get to. So like I feel like you're kind of lucky in that.
Yeah.
We definitely teeter the line, which is so funny for us. Like we just think it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm here for it.
Yeah. When someone's like on the teeter totter, we're like, oh no, she didn't just fucking say that. But yeah, it's definitely our live is you walk into Trailer World and then you leave. You're like, oh my God, I miss Trailer World. So it's like, I think that's what makes it so special.
Yep.
Genuinely the best way to wrap it.
I love that. Yeah. That's how I hope people feel like visiting Curio City. It's
definitely
literally why we called it a city.
That. Yeah, that's so special.
It's a city of like, you know, like I said, curious cutie. So I understand. So like, how has the experience of performing, you know, live shaped your musical journey now? Like when you're not live, when you're not performing live, like how has like the live aspect affected how you want to write and how you know, does it affect it? I guess is the first question.
I mean, I was challenged years ago. Brooke, are you going to wear your artist jacket, like your brand jacket at all times, or are you gonna put it on and then that's who you are live?
Right.
So I made the decision a long time ago, wow, I can't take this jacket off, unfortunately. So I have to create like big boundaries with my worth, not coming from a perfect performance.
Yeah.
And I think that's where so much growth has expedited in the writing room and the
you're
stage.
You're a Virgo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a Virgo. I'm a creepy one though, because I'm Gemini with my moon and my
yeah. That's I remember seeing that on your coaster a long time ago, and I was like, that she's got a lot going on.
A lot going on. 4 on the Enneagram. Yeah.
Okay. Very artistic. Yeah.
Purpose driven. Yes. Why? And I want to be part of the good. Yeah. Like I'm hungry, and if I can't do that, I'm depressed. Yeah. I'm scared. I'm lonely.
Yeah.
It's tragic. And so I have to make sure that I don't apply too much romanticism to those firecracker moments in a writing room or to the stage, because unfortunately I can't take the jacket off. Yeah. So yeah, it's been really special being okay as Brooke. Yeah. Not just the Brooke on stage or that. And I've really only in the past like 2 years like understood that and gotten permission to not be, you know, just the best, like do Whitney Houston vocals. Like my voice also has like kind of gone through it through life. Yeah. Like I hold my fear here, and I hold shame here, and I hold so many like my 7-year-old self that didn't say things that needed to be said here. So there's a lot of life happening still in me where I'm releasing this chakra and healing this chakra. And so I sound different than I ever have. And trying to just take it one day at a time and not be so list oriented and goal oriented. So I've struggled with that in the past. I've struggled not putting everything into what everyone sees. But it's been a lot better, and I've gotten a lot of permission from my closest friends to be this fluid Brooke, you know, that might perform and not hit all the notes, you know. And I thought it was very, recapping on the show, it was a very God thing that I was so sick. And then the shot I had to maybe belt or sing freely on TV, I was met with sickness. And so I don't know exactly what that is all the way through yet, but I'm learning about that right now. Yeah. So,
well, you even mentioning like throat chakra and like speaking your truth and all of that. I know you mentioned in the bio section that you have like overcome childhood abuse. Yeah. And that's like something that's like obviously been very pivotal. Yeah. And it's been something that has almost become part of your identity, and not that it needs to be your identity, but as a human being, but it has affected who you are as a person, and I'm sure shows up through like your music. So I don't know if you want to talk about that, but like if you do, like how has that journey, like how has it influenced your music and your outlook on life, basically?
Yeah, I think it's we talked about like I care so heavily about purpose and intent. And I really believe that the crosses were handed, the baggage were handed, we're met with that baggage to face it and to move through it and to see how it's not unique to just us. And it's an opportunity for me to be connected to other people. And I think that it was really hard for a long time to not think I was the only one with the story that I have. And that was like through talk therapy, I would hit a wall. I couldn't get to where I needed to go. And there was this other space where, I healed my entire body through intent, through words, through putting in the right things, through diet. And so I was met with really unraveling my subconscious beliefs about myself, about the world. And unfortunately I got in there and I found a lot of anger towards, and I don't admit anger well.
I don't either. I understand.
Yeah. I'm more of a sad girl. And so I think that the traumatic things, like still to this day, my family couldn't handle if I used the word trauma in their presence. But I have blood sisters that have gone through trauma. I have sisters here that have probably gone through trauma. And so I don't know, that's the one space with Christianity, that word brother, sister, it works for me. It heals me. It keeps me going. It helps me acknowledge that I am not the only one. And it helps me maintain being really interested in like clearing out my bullshit so that I can not show up for the world, but show up for myself, and heal. If we really are one body and if we really are mirrors of each other, I need to show up and I need to clean that through. And I'm not the only one dealing with that bullshit. And so I think finding and learning that, oh, Brooke, you're not the only one with that story. It's hard for my ego to admit that I lived in that space, but I did. And so, I'm kind of in this new chapter of not owning that I'm the only one that's traumatized. And it's been sucky for my ego to like acknowledge like, damn, you were claiming truths that I don't have to hold on to.
Okay, well, knowing that you're not the only one. Right? Like what advice would you give somebody who's like maybe going through challenging times, even similar to like what you've been through, and only you can really know what you've gone through. But say, somebody's listening who has been through similar experiences, like what advice would you give them?
I think the one space of trauma that I have had the most breakthrough with, that I feel empowered to speak about, is really like the word curse in a way of I was handed like I have mental disorders. Did I have mental disorders? Yes. Am I not afraid? And it's a sensitive space to say that I believe that I've overcome and kind of cleared through some of them, and I don't own or possess bipolar anymore. Like, I was the girl that I couldn't at one point drive my own vehicle because of my panic attacks. And I mean, the suicidal ideation was so loud and so heavy that I couldn't go to work. If I was at work, I was breaking down in the bathroom, and I was really good at hiding like how aggressive this mental play was.
Yeah.
And so anyone who is struggling with mental disorders, or you went to seek healing and you're told and confronted with this really scary diagnosis. Yeah. I'm not promising you that you're going to heal fully, but I am promising you that you have power in healing. And that healing is not going to come from anywhere externally. And unfortunately, it's going to come from you. And I hated when I was met with that in therapy, that it's all inside me, that inside me, I'm going to find the pathways to rewire what's broken. And I don't believe the mental pursuit to overcome severe anxiety and depression. I believe that is a mind, body, and spirit attack. And it's the same way if you got diagnosed with cancer, you're going to attack that thing head on in those three spaces. And there are hero stories of people overcoming crazy physical things. And my click was when I treated my mental illness as a physical illness. So to the listeners and to the flowers and to the curiosity that is combating these real life debilitating mental wars, like, I stand with you. You are not alone. And take your time healing. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
And it's so interesting too, like Brooke's connection with like music and all of that, because like she, being a performer, like she gets to like emote on stage, and like I think that's her like connection that she does feel with like people and God, and like she's up there singing, and the thing that's been attacked in her so much has been her throat. So I think it's definitely like everything that she shared, and then like mixed with the also getting attacked up here has been so hard for her. So it's definitely been tough to watch her have to go through all of that. And my side of it is a lot, I think, more like simplified than Brooke's, and because mine was never like a mental like struggle. In the short, my family struggles with alcoholism, including myself. I've been sober for like, I honestly don't even know how many years now. I think it's like 6 years.
It's been like 4.5.
4.5 years.
Wow, amazing.
Like 6 years.
Yeah,
I don't know why it feels like 6. I was like thinking about it the other day. I was like, how many years have I been sober? But the thing that I think music has always been for me within, all the trauma from life and from childhood, is that like in my family, I like never felt heard over things that I like was asking for, like things that I needed, or like boundaries that I needed to set, even if it was as simple as like, I don't want you to drink around me. Like that was never like heard or understood, and that boundary was always pushed and disrespected. So whenever I like do write these songs by myself, and it's a lot of biographical things that come up, and then I'm singing them with Brooke at the listening room, and people are coming up to me afterwards and being like, I heard what you said, like this is my story too, and like all those things, like that is what is most definitely most rewarding for me. And actually like a selfish thing, actually feeling heard, for the first time.
I understand. One of the songs that I loved the most from back in the day doing music was a song called Numb that I wrote kind of right after a panic attack, because like after a panic attack, like all I would feel is like numb, and I would describe it as like during a panic attack, it's like I would see like a color wheel, like just all the colors, like in not in a cute way, like it was like very overwhelming, just like I saw everything, like when you press on your eyes too hard and it's like you see purple and like all that, that would be like the panic attack. And then afterwards I was completely numb, right? And I couldn't feel anything, and all I could see was like, it was like a white room, like there was like, anyway, and I wrote that in a very honest way, like I didn't even really know how to play like my instruments that well at that point. And I remember I just took my guitar and played it like a bass. That's the instrument I ended up playing was bass.
Yeah, I love it.
And so I wrote it to basically a bass line.
Yeah, no, I get it.
But people, it meant the most to me, again, throughout my career. Like, there was so many things that I feel like I had many highs in the very closer to the beginning. And that song Numb, when people come up to me after and tell me like how that, you know, they related, or how they felt heard or seen, in turn made me feel heard and seen, because I wrote that as honest as you could possibly get it. So having somebody else being like, yeah, me too, I'm like, oh my gosh, because that came straight from my soul. So like, that felt so good. Like, I would, they would be thanking me for the song. I'm like, no, but thank you, because me singing this is basically asking for somebody to say that, like, I feel you. Like, you know what I mean?
For
it's
real.
like kind of that give and take with like you and your audience or listeners, that it's something that you can't fabricate. It has to just happen naturally.
Yeah, those are the most powerful songs.
Yeah.
At least that's how I feel. Like, you can tell, like, just being in Nashville, and I know you've probably been to like a million writers rounds. Like, they're
back in the day.
Yeah, right, back in the day. But there's those songs that like you'll hear it like once every 3 years that someone's up there and they're singing something, and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like a God Bless the Broken Road moment.
Yep.
You know.
Well, when you hear the writer, when you've known the artist singing it, and you've heard it on the radio, and then you go to a listening, that is something special about Nashville, I will say, is that you'll know songs, right? And then you'll go to the listening room, or you go to a writer's round, and you'll hear the writer of that song play and sing it, and they're not like the performers, but they're singing it just in their own little like singer-songwritery way. But it hits so different because it's their soul.
And
you're like,
that just makes me want to explode, like, in a positive way. I don't know why. That's like always been my favorite thing to do.
Well, as a songwriter, like, that's like that's your bread and butter.
Yeah, I would say so, for sure. Just like Brooke's bread and butter is like seeing somebody like Mariah Carey, or like, I don't even know. There's so many people just like literally like hit that note.
People who
like,
are emoting through like their vocals and through their like melody. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's so many beautiful like moments that like singers that can fucking sing that you also go to heaven in those moments too.
Yes,
which is special.
I agree.
That's why it's good when you marry two different things together.
So true. Look at you guys, so cute.
I know, right?
Okay, so like mental health, how do you then maintain like the health of your soul, I guess, in your daily life?
Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
Sure. My daily life. Yeah, I feel like it's definitely like a back and forth. It's interesting. I know that everybody experiences life differently, but I am constantly like getting distracted or like, you know, thrown off guard by things, and I'm like constantly having to like reel myself back into like the moment, you know? I'm very much like I don't know if I'm a forward thinker or a backwards thinker. Like, I can get caught like in both of those things, you know? And it's not my constant state of being, but it's definitely like a struggle. So there's so many different things that I do in my daily life, but the one thing that has always helped me is obviously staying sober, because if I don't do that, then I'm a literal fucking train wreck, and I'm not helping anybody or myself. Right. Makes all of my relationships harder. And there's this therapist that me and Brooke actually have the same therapist, which is funny. It's a long time coming to do that.
They really know how to help you.
Yeah, honestly, she's incredible. And she does this like specific type of therapy that just it's not necessarily talk therapy. It's more of like a pulling these like beliefs out of your subconscious kind of thing. And I am not good at, like, I can read books for days and like gain knowledge about like the right way to do something, or like, you know, how to handle my trauma correctly, like all of these things. But I'm not good at like actually feeling it,
embodying it.
Because I'm genuinely scared to feel it, and that's like been my thing my whole life. I'm like, I don't want to accept this is true because it's so awful. But so I think going to her has like helped me a lot. And you know, therapy is different for everybody. It could look different. I'm definitely not telling anybody to go to therapy, because some people just they need something else. But
agreed.
I think it's been that for me. It's been having my safe people and my safe relationships, and having my animals, and being able to go and breathe some fresh air kind of thing.
What kind of animals do you have?
I used to have goats. Sadly, we don't have them anymore. They're so fucking cute a bunch of chickens and some dogs.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
Yeah, it's the best time ever, honestly.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and I'm like also with the mental health thing, I'm grateful that Brooke and I both pursue that first.
Yeah.
Like even like if it was a thing where like we were gonna practice or one of us had to go to therapy, like it's therapy.
Yeah.
Like over
That's
practice.
so good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that has really helped us in our relationship because our pasts are so complicated.
Yeah.
And relationships are hard. Like she's literally my fucking wife.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot that goes into being in a band together, you know?
Yep.
We're together all the time. We're, you know, we say the most to each other. There's just a lot going on.
Yeah.
So we do like go to therapy together, which I think is so important
That's
for
amazing.
the longevity of our relationship.
Yeah.
And you know, some people don't need therapy, couples don't, but like it's okay if you do need couples therapy.
Yeah.
And it's definitely healed us separately too in so many different ways. It's been such a blessing.
That's cool.
It's amazing to have a space where you're outside, like where you're met with someone where I know Jack's intention is to never harm me.
Yeah.
So the therapy has been just brilliant from a professional standpoint.
Yeah.
Because to bring up hard truths, sometimes it's really hard for our egos to accept that someone's not trying to intentionally harm you.
Yeah.
You know, so to have that space where, okay, she is spending money and we are sitting here to figure this out and to love each other well, goes a long way. And I think for like the initial question you were asking, like, how do we manage that mental health?
Right.
For me, you know, the aha space is acknowledging that it's not disconnected from my physical health and my spiritual health. So that demands me to have like the relationships I'm in, they have to meet me where I'm at.
Yeah.
And that can be a lot to ask people if they're themselves not healthy or equipped to give that. So I think that we definitely are in circles where our people meet us where we're at.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of space for me to say what I need. And it doesn't mean putting up boundaries that then we're disconnected from each other and you don't have access to me.
Yeah.
It's less about that. And the intention behind it is more so, I'm not excusing my behavior. I want the people around me to understand I'm having behavior right now that I don't understand. And that's hard for anyone's ego to get to a space where I'm reacting or I'm responding. And out of all the things I was named, I mean, I was on pharmaceuticals from age 12 years old until I was 25.
Wow.
At sometimes my cocktail was 4 different SSRIs. I had Xanax available to me. I had everything happening.
Wow.
Then you throw in weed, I loved my weed in that season of my life because it allowed me to come out of that numbness that we were talking about.
Yeah.
And it's where I got back to my dialogue with God. And I got to feel the softness of God again, and not the rigid side of God.
You got it. You have to cover. I got high. Wait, what is it? It's Noah and Miley.
I got so high. Yeah.
That I saw Jesus.
Yeah.
That's me and my sister's one of our favorite songs,
right?
As we were like coming out of doing music together and also deconstructing.
Yeah.
We're like, that's a great song. We
It
should
is
cover
great.
that
It was
one.
definitely one I wish I would have written.
Yeah, same.
I'm like, damn it.
We have a little version we put on social media.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just, where was I? Where were we at?
Sorry.
Oh no, you're fine.
Oh yeah, weed. You're talking to God when you're talking.
Then you throw in heavy usage of weed, and so I was not feeling good for a hot minute.
Yeah.
And I was a very reactive person, and I hurt a lot of people. And within that, I also did not feel met by the world. And I look back and I wish, I wish people could have seen at face value that maybe I was going through it.
Right.
And maybe they did. And that's something I'm combing through now.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of my mental hygiene, I've accepted that I have complex PTSD. And that covers all of the textbook definitions of anxiety, depression, all the things.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful that this therapist was willing to help me comb through and remove, every list that I had on me.
Yeah.
And I
she
needed
was
that.
labeled as bipolar for a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
And that's like to all of her friends, that's what we knew.
Yeah.
Was like,
Mhm.
if Brooke isn't taking her medicine, then we need to make sure she's taking her medicine.
Mhm.
But at the end of the
wow.
day, it's like has complex PTSD and she's not bipolar.
Mhm.
Wow.
So it's this like mind fuck
Yeah.
that definitely she went through.
Yeah.
But then like all of her friends went through too, because
Of
we're
course.
like, whoa, we've been treating this like
Mhm.
the book bipolar.
Yeah.
And it's like,
And it
that's-
hurt me.
Yeah.
And I had to be really, really brave to detox. And
Yeah.
that's a whole nother curiosity
Yeah.
interview.
Yeah.
for sure.
Because that decision I had to make all by myself.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just boundaries with the people that you choose to do life with. And I think it's important, like, not to be surrounded by people who say this is what you are.
Right.
And I'm in a space with people where I get to say who I want to be and how I want to be this person and how I need to show up for myself. And so, yes, I'm motivated to be the better version of myself with my
Yeah.
friends, but I also
Mhm.
have permission to be hurting.
Yeah.
So, and I think that is key in any like hygiene of your mental health.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a big part of us, and not everyone. I think that there's introspection that happens to a fault.
Mm.
And so I think it's important that people aren't like meeting themselves with what is wrong with me, what is wrong with me, what is wrong with me.
Yeah.
And more
Super
like
sad.
that fine tuning, like, are you able to get to the present moment?
Yeah.
Because that's where you're going to have the most clearest degree of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So we're, as much as we advocate for people's mental illness, we have a more holistic side to our approach to
We're
treating
holistic
it.
girlies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even to have like, we love our Mountain Dew and Cheetos, but like it's the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
You know?
We are that way too.
Yeah, for
Hardcore.
sure.
Yeah.
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 The holistic is
I
important.
will have my Cheetos and my
Mhm.
chocolate, but I also will get grass-fed finished beef.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
for sure.
Yeah.
No pesticides. All
And-
that. Yeah.
exactly.
And little information note, red meat and butter actually, I think, cured the main inflammation problem with my brain.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I was a vegan
Yes.
for like a 7-month period, but I was a vegetarian for like 2 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
yeah, my journey was like 8 years
yeah.
of being a vegan.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I just recently, when was that? It was like May or something this
Wow.
year that I stopped. Mhm.
Oh, wow.
wow.
I'm interested
Yeah.
to know if that helped your, like, if you had any hormonal issues and if it helped your hormones at all.
It's more so that I'm prepping like in the future I want to have kids,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I just felt like a call from like
Mhm.
inside, and my ancestors in my womb was just basically telling me I needed more
Yeah.
nutrients in my
Yeah.
womb, basically.
Yeah.
To make a very long story short.
Yeah.
No,
But-
I
No, that's
totally.
good.
You see pictures of like, not
Yeah.
trying to convince anybody to do
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
But you definitely see pictures of like a vegetarian placenta versus like a woman who like
Yeah.
had dairy and meat.
Yeah.
And it is crazy.
It is kind of crazy. And
Yeah.
one of the biggest things for me was like it's earth
Mm-hmm.
first. I'm such an earth girl. Even like when you're
Mhm.
talking about like, all created by like the same being,
Mhm.
whatever, we're like part of that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's how the vernacular I use a lot
Mhm.
it really goes back to nature.
Mhm.
And so for me, like I say that we are nature. We aren't like
Mhm.
separate from her.
Yeah.
And so a big part of my like veganism and then now non-veganism is like
Yeah.
a huge part of my passions is like taking care of the earth and like the agriculture,
Mhm.
the ways that I like buy my food is like very different. The
Yep.
intentions have always been about caring for the earth and also caring for my health, but now more so about my health
Yeah.
in a different way.
Definitely.
And I've just grown with the knowledge and information that I've been given throughout the years.
Yeah.
Science and research has changed over the past
Mhm.
10 years when
Yeah.
I
We
went
know.
from vegan to not vegan.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So people are asking like, well, what made you switch? And I'm just
Yeah.
like, research.
Yeah.
Like my own and also just like people
Mhm.
smarter than me. And
Yeah.
I'm reading and consistently just
Yeah.
like upping my information of what is like best for me, my body, and also the
Mhm.
earth. And like
yeah.
this is the next chapter.
Yeah, because everybody's body is different, and
Yeah.
something that Brooke and I just recently learned too is like everybody's like, you know, got like a different blood type,
Yeah.
and like some blood types like
I'm
require.
I'm so about this right now. I'm so
Yeah,
glad
no,
about
I'm
this
so
now.
glad you're bringing it up. We love talking about this shit. But the, you know, like O needs more red meat, but like
my
A
sister
could
and
be
I
a
just
vegetarian.
figured out we were O positive, both. O
Oh,
positive.
really?
Yeah.
Oh my God! Yeah, you guys need to be eating beef every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So it's like the people that, you know, like think that they're. It always comes down to that. Like, you know, everybody thinks they're doing the right thing. Am I right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
which is great,
of course.
But the research thing, I love doing research.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna ask if you're an Enneagram 5, because that's what I am.
Oh,
She's a 1.
I'm a 1.
Okay, but
Yeah.
you want to find the truth, and that's like its
Yeah.
own version.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, exactly. You're
Yeah.
a 5.
yeah.
Mhm.
Wow.
My
You don't
fiance
give
is
me
a 5.
Yeah.
Nobody gets 5 energy from me.
Yeah, I was gonna say you do not give me 5 energy.
I like people perceive 3 or 8 from me
Mhm.
usually.
Yep.
What do you go to in health and unhealth? Do you know?
8 in my health and 7 in unhealth.
Those are
Mhm.
both. Yeah, they're super fun
Yeah.
numbers. So
Yeah, they're
that
very
makes-
fun
numbers.
That
Yeah.
makes sense why I'm getting that from you instead.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
also was just like being raised as a performer,
Yep.
right?
That's rough.
I mean, I have really garnered the skills of how to perform and how to like
Mhm.
exist in a world that wants me to be, you know, extroverted. This
So
is like,
good.
if
Can all relate to that
this
one.
conversation
Yeah.
will be like I don't want to see any person outside of my home. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, I'm
Yeah.
so
Definitely.
introverted, but this is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
loving this conversation.
No, I hear
But
you on
outside
that.
of this, I'm like, I don't want to see a
Yeah.
soul.
Yeah,
You know,
no, I can
like,
relate to that a
I'm
little
like
bit, yeah.
very much
Mhm.
that researcher. Like, even Adam and I, like, I'm alone 90% of
Yeah.
the time of my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And I like it that way.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but people don't, when they
Respect.
talk to me,
Yes.
they don't think I'm like,
Uh-huh.
because I'm not shy,
No.
Yeah.
but because I love to talk, I'm like outgoing.
Yeah.
But I'm very introverted.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause of
Dallas
that
is a
nurture.
5.
Yeah.
My
Okay.
guy.
He's a 5.
And I also did the same space where I am a 4 through and through. I'm not the 3 that, you know, you would perceive as much.
Yeah.
But I look like a 3. I'm the oldest in my birth order. Like,
Yes.
the music thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a 4 and I'm learning like my space to rest is
Yeah.
everything to me.
Yep.
And going back to the way you eat, you know,
Yeah.
and your respect for the earth and
Mhm.
nature, like that's such a natural, like intuitive thing. So
Mhm.
maybe eating veganism and a vegetarian diet, that was your intuitive
It was,
space at
yeah.
that time.
Mhm.
And that veganism,
Mhm.
not being a vegetarian, but
Yeah.
veganism led to my self-awareness of
Mhm.
what I was putting in my body.
Of course. Yeah.
And that actually like launched my deconstruction of saying no more
yeah.
with the medicine.
Mm.
And we're big on muscle testing,
Mhm.
and we go to nutritionists who are able to really fine tune exactly through supplementation, you know, what our body is hungry for.
You're gonna have to send me all this info.
Oh,
girl.
yeah.
They're literally
Yeah.
life. I'll plug
Yes.
it. Nashville Holistic
Nashville
Nutrition.
Holistic Nutrition.
Okay, we love
They're
it.
Literally saved me
amazing.
from dying.
Yeah,
we'll
saved
have
her
to
from
get into
dying.
that later at some
That's
point. But,
another
yeah.
thing. She had like a ton of autoimmune disorders that sprung post-COVID.
Okay.
And
wow.
we're combing
Crazy.
through them, but basically her body was riddled with parasites. So we're cleaning her out.
Wow.
Don't want to scare anybody,
yeah.
but everybody's got them.
Yeah. No, everybody
Yeah,
does.
no.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
the therapist we referenced, you know, her whole thing is that mind, body, spirit attack on our health. And
Yeah.
there's an emotional response to nearly everything that manifests physically. And
Right.
the root is that initial emotional energy.
Yeah.
And so we're advocates for like fasting, and
Mhm.
we've that's a newer thing we've implemented into our journey, but wow, you know,
Yeah.
and my favorite thing with information is when something biblically could correspond with something
Mhm.
in the Torah, could correspond with something in a
Mhm.
Native American finding. And so I have a lot of witchy energy about me.
Yeah.
I'm very natural with my like herbal
Yeah.
instinct.
Mhm.
And so I think it's so powerful to not deny, especially as women, our
Right.
feminine calls to just what we feel is good or bad. The
Right.
simplicity of like, is this good or is this bad right now?
Right.
And strengthening that intuitiveness in ourselves. So yeah.
I completely agree.
yeah,
Your body
I
tells you so much.
yeah, I
It
pride
does
so
you
much.
on the like being willing to like look into the meat the meat thing and like
sorry, I keep like touching your toes.
Like put the over.
But the earth space that I find romantic about eating meat is just acknowledging that I don't believe energy dies.
Yeah.
And I think that God was so intentional when he made every single one of us living, fluttery things. And when it comes to the beef game, I'm not really a poultry fish girl. Like beef helps me out so much.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how even a pack of wolves, like when they would take down some large animal, the actual organs of that animal was so coveted and special. And they would distribute that to maybe someone that was sick in the pack or to the elder in the pack. And so when I learned that information, it brings you to this place of, yes, I'm going to bless my food. Yes, I'm going to be so grateful for this animal for digesting all of the grass and herbs that it ever wanted to consume. And so, I found a lot of healing and safety in introducing meat again, and having this very like respectful space with like, wow, your stomach, your 8 or 7, I don't know how many stomachs they have. Thank you for digesting all of these herbs for me. So we could talk on and on about food because I think it's so emotional and so romantic.
Well, we have a whole episode on our vegan like our journey. Becoming unvegan is like I think what it's called.
Listen.
You're
unvegan.
You should listen to it. But
that's funny.
The first thing I ended up cooking was an ancestral blend of like liver and like
the organs are so important.
The organs, it was like a blend of like the muscle and organs.
Good for you.
And I have never had an aversion to meat or any kind of like irony taste or anything. So to me, it was like it was just very natural. And like bone broth was the first thing I like got out. Like I was like out and I had it from the farmer's market and I had a whole ceremony. I blessed my tree out there with a little bit of it. I blessed my dog with a little bit of it. And like, obviously thanked the animals and everything. So like it was definitely a very conscious and intentional shift over. But at the same time, people think like, they ask me, did you just slowly introduce? I'm like, no. But I also didn't slowly introduce being vegan either. I literally decided overnight to do it.
A lot of times it's full send.
And that's just my personality.
Oh, same.
So
I'm all about it.
All of us, I think we can agree.
I'm so glad you brought up the organ thing because I was even talking to my dad about this on the phone yesterday because we talk about the weirdest shit. It's like never anything normal. It's always weird shit. But he's like always brought up to me, he's British, so he's like he is like an American, but he's not. Like it's very interesting. So he's like, I was saying the nastiest shit as a like 1-year-old baby. Like he has no filter. And he just like has like 9 moms. His story is so intense.
Rough.
And he also like learned how, one of his stepmoms taught him how to cook. Like she's an Italian. So he's like always just like cooked for us growing up.
He can cook too. This guy can cook.
He's a great chef.
Love.
But he was talking to me about like liver and heart and like all those organs, and he's like, every other culture does it. But America is just so against this that thinks it's dirty. And it's like literally the cheapest thing. Like you can get beef liver at Whole Foods for like 30 cents. Like it
really?
It
they
doesn't
come in
make
on
any
Tuesdays,
sense.
the Broadway location.
We
know when all the shipments are, so we'll share that with you.
You guys are gonna hook me up. Knowledge.
It's insane. But those are the most like nutritious things for us, which are so funny because like in America we just throw it out. Like what the hell?
Sickening.
It's like, oh my god. And we could get into all the shit that's in our food, which is also insane and killing us, but we won't do that.
Which is how I healed myself, which was I started eating whole foods that didn't have poison in them because I'm really allergic to Roundup. And some people are just really allergic.
Wow.
Pesticides.
Did you find that through your your holistic doctor?
My glyphosate levels were like not okay.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to get all this information.
You're gonna have the best time with them.
I'm gonna have so much
We should do a follow-up like just heart therapy session.
We should
episode together.
Nutrition.
On nutrition.
We totally could. I was gonna say we could go on forever, so maybe there should be a part 2.
That would be so fun.
But to the mental health, like if you have any energy to try something new, cut out the gluten. Try it, and it's gonna be a war because your body's gonna crave it and it's gonna be really hard to get rid of it, but just cut the gluten. and do your best to wash your food.
Yeah.
Yeah, and less sugar too.
What?
Yeah.
I'm
Start
not good
there.
at washing my food. I gotta do that.
I know.
Right? It's hard. It's honestly like hard. If you
Yeah.
don't have one of
I
those
just
like
don't want to get my
machines-
hands wet.
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
no, I
it's a
understand.
sensory
Yeah,
thing for me. I'm
I
like,
know.
That's so
oh,
funny.
it's annoying.
Get
But
one of those cleaners on Amazon. You just like put it in everything in a bowl of water and like click the button and then just stick it in there.
yeah, I should.
But those two things specifically removed like all of my inflammation from my body.
Love that.
And an inflamed organ, that's where you have
Our
injury.
sicknesses come from
Yeah.
inflammation. Yeah, for
So
sure.
my
It's just
brain,
crazy. All of our sicknesses.
yeah,
inflammation.
my poor
Mhm.
brain,
Nuts.
Yeah.
my poor brain had a lot of allergy responses happening.
Yeah.
But you guys are both glowing.
Oh, you're so great.
I was gonna say you're clearly doing
Tried.
something right because both y'all have
Aw.
like gorgeous skin.
Same to
that's
you.
very
Yeah,
nice.
thank
Same
you.
to you.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's very inspiring. Thank you guys for
Mhm.
sharing all of that. Well, all of it. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing all of it.
Mhm.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Of
And being
course.
so amazing and sharing part of your story too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. You know, I expect it to be both ways.
Mhm.
You know,
Always.
I want to be
100%.
honest with you guys. You guys be honest
Yeah.
with me. That's like what we do here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, so for everyone who wants to like follow Trailer Flowers and like
Yeah.
all that, go ahead and shout out socials and all
Yeah.
Yeah, we're blessed because we are the only Trailer Flowers out there.
that. Woo woo.
Yeah.
Just at Trailer Flowers on everything, baby. We're
Yeah.
very like out there on TikTok and Instagram, but we do have everything else too.
You can just
Okay.
type us in Safari.
Literally, I used
Yeah.
to tell
Come
people
up.
that. I was like, because I'm the only Lauren Deliri like in
Yes.
the
Oh,
world.
that's fun.
So I was like, you could just Google me. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't really recommend. I mean,
Right.
I'm sure lots of things come up,
Mhm.
but like if you want to find me,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
just type in my name.
Uh-huh. So good.
So okay, good. So Trailer Flowers,
Mhm.
and then on your own personals as well, or are you just like sticking with Trailer
We're
Flowers?
sticking, yeah.
Okay.
Brooke
Sticking
and
with
Jack
Trailer Flowers.
from Trailer Flowers
Brooke and
at
Jack.
the moment.
Oh yeah, I don't even
Right?
think we like introduced your actual
Yeah,
name.
no,
okay.
you're good.
Think
Thing
you
one
just,
and
like,
thing two.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you like referred to each other like Brooke, Jack. So I was like, hopefully
Yeah.
they like just caught on.
Right?
Yeah,
But-
no, it honestly doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
You're
We're
good.
Trailer Flowers.
Well, Trailer Flowers.
Yes.
Jack and Brooke, thank you so much for being
Thank
on.
you,
and
Lauren.
Thank you.
I'm excited for everyone to listen, and for
What a
everyone who
blessing.
did listen,
Yes.
thank you so much, and make sure you go follow them. We love you guys, and until next time,
Bye, cuties.
Bye, cuties.